What is going on, my friends? Ryan Williams here, back with another one. And if you are looking for an incredible bang for your buck when it comes to investing in dividend stocks, then you clicked on the right video, because today we are going to be discussing 3 ultra high yield dividend stocks that I think are looking like pretty good buys right now. And just so we're all on the same page here, when I say ultra high yield, I'm talking like 7% and above. So you can really generate some solid dividend income quickly by investing in these 3 stocks. Also, towards the end of this video, I'll be sharing my weekly portfolio update with you guys, which should be pretty exciting considering my portfolio is currently sitting in an all-time high. So be sure to stick around for that. Anyway, before we get rocking and rolling, if you guys are ready to have a good week on the stock market, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. And whether you're new here or have seen some of my videos before, if dividend stocks is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel as well. On this channel, we strictly talk about dividend stocks, and there's a really solid community of people here who are so good about sharing their opinions and their experiences with dividend stocks in the comment section of these videos. So there's a lot of fun to be had and a lot of things to be learned. So definitely consider subscribing. Anyway, thank you guys so much for doing that. And now, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, now getting right into it, guys. The very first high yield dividend stock we're going to be talking about today is Enterprise Products Partners, ticker symbol EPD, which just so happens to be an MLP, which stands for a Master Limited Partnership. If you guys have never heard of MLPs or Master Limited Partnerships, I highly recommend you do a little bit of research before deciding to invest in any of them like EPD here. They are a little bit tricky and a little bit different compared to your standard corporation like a Coca-Cola or like an Apple. There are some nuances that make these MLPs a little bit tricky, especially as it pertains to taxes and the dividend stuff. But if you are up for the challenge, EPD is a pretty good one to invest in, if I do say so myself. And as you can see, in the last year has been performing pretty dang good, up almost 43% in the last year. And then in the last 6 months, it's up about 6%, which is not too shabby. It looks like somewhere in that time frame, they had a little bit of a dip and then have since come back up. And it looks like that recovery has taken place mostly in the last 30 days, where EPD is up 13.38%, which is pretty solid, a pretty solid gain in such a short amount of time. Now, in terms of share price performance, this is looking pretty good, guys, and doesn't really indicate that the stock is beaten down in share price. But if we zoom out pretty far, we can see that the stock used to be much higher in share price back, 7+ years ago. It was trading at about $40 a share, $41 a share. But for some reason, I'm not exactly sure why, it has come down. And since about 2016 has been trading, as you can see here, as we just move along in time, has been trading between 25 and 30 bucks a share. And then when all the craziness started in 2020, it dropped to about $13 a share at its lowest and has made its way back up to its normal point between, 25, 30 bucks a share. It's been hovering in there. So even though it has seen some pretty big gains here in the short term, this range between 25 and 30 bucks a share for EPD is pretty normal. It doesn't seem like this stock has been doing too much in terms of share price appreciation in the last 5 years or so. And with that said, the stock is looking to be at a pretty solid discount, or looking pretty affordably priced, I should say. And I want to talk more about this PE ratio and some other valuation metrics in just a moment. But before we get to that, EPD does look like they are positioned for more growth here in the future. And as you can see on the screen here, they currently have $3.1 billion of major capital projects under construction. And EPD here is investing in the expansion of some of their pre-existing pipelines and facilities, as well as the construction of some new ones. Now, one of the best things about this is that EPD already has secured contracts from its customers for the use of these new and expanded pipelines and facilities, which ensures that they're not spending all of this money for nothing, and also ensures that these projects will help to boost the company's cash flow upon completion of these projects. Now, all of this should hopefully result in a bigger and badder EPD. Now, with that said, guys, let's jump over to this valuation page and take a deeper look into the PE ratio and some other valuation metrics. So like we saw on the summary page, the forward PE ratio 11.08, which looks like is about 23% lower than EPD's 5-year average PE ratio of 14.36. So it is priced more affordably than on average in the last 5 years. And scrolling down, guys, taking a look at the forward price to book, this is not looking too bad either. 2.14, which is about 7% lower than EPD's 5-year average price to book, which is also nice to see. And then the forward price to cash flow is 7.14, which is a very nice price to cash flow in the single digits, right where we want it, which looks like it's almost 30% lower than the 5-year average. So across all these valuation metrics, the PE ratio, the price to book, the price to cash flow, it looks like EPD is priced more affordably than it has been in the last 5 years on average. Now let's get to the good stuff, guys. Let's go talk about EPD's dividend real quick. So jumping over to this dividend page, taking a look at the dividend summary, we can see that EPD has a forward dividend yield of 7.38, which is pretty dang nice. They have a higher payout ratio of 81.76, but that is possibly because these MLPs have to pay out a lot of their earnings to us as shareholders. Like I said, that's one of the nuances of these MLPs that is worth looking into, but it's not concerning to see the payout ratio this high for this company. The dividend has a 5-year growth rate of 2.71%, which is relatively low, but this forward yield is pretty dang high. So I guess we'll take it. And then they have a dividend growth history of 22 consecutive years, which is really not too bad. And it looks like the consecutive years of dividend payments are the same, 22 years as well. Now, the good thing about companies like EPD, where they have a dividend yield that's just so high, like we said in the intro, it makes it easier to establish a higher amount of dividend income quickly. And with that said, I just want to show you guys my position with EPD. So if we look at my dividend portfolio tracking spreadsheet, you guys can see here I have almost 71 shares of EPD. And if we scroll all the way over to the right, it will show my annual dividend income for this company, which is currently $127.43. And the cool thing about this, guys, is that every single year, I'm able to purchase 5.22 shares of EPD just from dividends. So every time there's a dividend payment from EPD, I'm getting over 1.25 shares automatically purchased without having to invest any more of my own money. The dividends are able to pick that up for me. And I think once you get to that place, guys, once you're able to start getting whole shares every time the dividends get reinvested, I really think that's where the snowball effect starts to compound quickly and starts to grow a little bit quicker. So right now I'm able to buy 1.25 shares. Maybe pretty soon I'll be able to buy 2 shares every time there's a dividend payment, and then 3 shares, and then 4 shares from there, and it just snowballs even quicker, guys. And this stock is so cheap to buy. It's only, not even $25 a share, that it's really not too difficult to build this sort of position. As you guys can see, I've only invested about $1,600 of my own dollars to build this position of EPD, which for me is a pretty big position, but for others, you guys might look at this and be like, yeah, only 1.25 shares every time the dividends are reinvested. That's nothing. It's probably nothing to some of you guys, but honestly, it feels pretty good to me. All right, guys, now moving on to stock number 2, we have Altria Group, ticker symbol MO, which I apologize if you guys are sick of hearing me talk about this stock. I feel like I've been mentioning it in a few of my recent videos, but it is just looking so good. It's hard not to talk about, and the yield on this stock is so good, it is hard to ignore. So in the last year, guys, Altria Group has gained at 25.24% in share price, which is not too shabby. In the last 6 months, Altria Group is only up 1.37%, and then in the last month, they're only up 0.42%. And in the last 30 days, it looks like Altria Group took a little bit of a dip down from, what was that? About $48 a share where it's at now to $45 a share. So it lost almost 10% at one point in the last 30 days, but has since recovered. It's back up $3 a share. But even with that, guys, the PE ratio is sitting pretty low still, almost in the single digits, 10.43. So just based on that, it is still looking pretty affordable. And although this stock has been going up in share price lately, I will say that I feel like the sentiment with this company overall is down. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. Number one, obviously this company is a sin stock. And because of that, there's always going to be people who are turned off by it and don't want to invest in it for ethical reasons, which is totally fine. The second reason that I think people are kind of turned off to Altria Group right now is because of some news coming out about their IQOS heating device. It looks like this IQOS heating tobacco device infringes on some patents filed by British American Tobacco Company, ticker symbol BTI. And to dive a little bit deeper on this, guys, let's take a look at this NASDAQ article from earlier this month, which reads, the U.S. International Trade Commission recently ruled Philip Morris Internationals, which is one of the partners of Altria Group, IQOS heated tobacco device violates 2 patents held by rival British American Tobacco, and that the electronic cigarettes can't be imported or sold in the United States. While the ruling is obviously a major blow to the tobacco giant because the US is potentially the world's biggest, most lucrative market for e-cigs, and IQOS is so far the only e-cig that has earned a modified risk label from the FDA, the decision is a devastating blow to Philip Morris partner Altria Group because it has no vapor products to fall back on and no other markets it can sell into. The question is whether it's fatal. Now that is the big question, guys, and one of the things I've heard from Altria Group skeptics is that this will be fatal for them. Now I think time will tell whether or not that is the case, but the article here goes on to make some pretty good points as to why that may not be. And if we continue on in the article, it reads, yet the ITC ruling is not a fatal blow to Altria. As noted, most of the tobacco giant's revenue come from cigarettes. While the industry is in a secular decline, it's nowhere near being snuffed out. Precisely because it hadn't gotten very far in ruling out IQOS, the device accounts for relatively very little of its revenue. It might have been a potential growth product, but a ban won't upend Altria's finances, with Altria also still paying a secure and lucrative dividend that currently yields 7.9% annually. Heyo. It remains a tobacco stock investors can count on. Which brings us to the next point, guys, Altria's dividend, which is just irresistible. Now, if we go back to the screen and head over to the dividend page, let's scroll down and take a look. Now, the article had the dividend yield at 7.9%, but that was earlier this month, probably when Altria Group was priced a little bit lower. And as you guys can see here, the forward dividend yield is now 7.46%. And they have a payout ratio of 77.84%, which is pretty high. But I did read something not too long ago that suggested that Altria Group does this on purpose. They have a higher payout ratio, I think because they don't want to keep a lot of cash on hand. And if you guys have some more info on this, enlighten us please in the comments below. I would love to hear what the exact reason for this is. I know there is one, and I think it's something along those lines, but I could be a little twisted up there. But let me know in the comments below. Anyway, moving on, they have a 5-year growth rate of 8.59%, which is pretty nice, especially considering how high the dividend yield already is. This 8.59% growth rate is a very nice companion to an already high dividend yield. And the cherry on top right here, guys, one of the coolest things is they have a dividend growth history of 52 consecutive years. So Altria Group is a dividend king. They've been growing and paying their dividend for a long, long time. All right, guys, now moving on to the third and final high yield dividend stock of the day, we have none other than AT&T, ticker symbol T. Now, AT&T is probably one of the most polarizing dividend stocks out there right now, guys. You either love AT&T and think it has a bright future, or you think it's destined to fail eternally. Now, me personally, guys, I am an AT&T shareholder. I actually have a rather large position of AT&T. I think it currently makes up about 7.5% of my total portfolio, which admittedly is more than I would like it to be, but it's just such an easy stock to buy, and as the days go on, it becomes cheaper and cheaper, so it's a hard one not to keep buying shares of, especially when it has a dividend yield as high as it is, 8.07%. We will get there in just a moment, but first, let's talk about the share price performance of this stock. So in the last year, guys, it is down 3.59%. In the last 6 months, it's down quite a bit, 14.5% in the last 6 months. And then in the last month, it's down about 4.5%. But if we zoom out, we can see that even further beyond just 1 year, AT&T has been on the down and out. For the last 5 years, it is down 31.29%. And it looks like that trend started back here in maybe at the end of 2016, where it was trading at about $42 a share, somewhere in the 40s, and it was down, continually going down into 2018, well into 2019, but then it started to pick back up and get pretty close to being in the 40s again, and then all the craziness started in 2020, which brought it down into the high 20s and low 30s, and since then, guys, we've kind of been hovering around that range. It wanted to keep going back up. It was about to. It was touching 30s pretty well, $32 a share here in May, but then they announced this spinoff with Warner Media, which brought it down quite a bit. And that brings us to where we are now, guys, sitting at $25.49 per share with AT&T. While AT&T has a pretty bad track record of share price performance, especially in the last 1 month, especially in the last 6 months, it is not the only one in this sector that is seeing declines in share price. So as you guys can see on the screen, some of the other big players in this industry, Verizon, ticker symbol VZ, and T-Mobile, ticker symbol TMUS, I think that's the ticker symbol, have both come down in share price in the last 3 months or so, as you can see from this chart. So AT&T is here in the orange, this orangish color, and is actually down the least out of the bunch. So AT&T in the last 3 months is only down 8.06% compared to Verizon's 10.62% and T-Mobile's 21.44%. So T-Mobile has really really taken a nosedive in the last 3 months. And while it looks like there is something going on sector-wide to bring the share price of all these telecom companies down, AT&T is a really special case, and they've made some pretty poor choices in the last handful of years, which is why a lot of shareholders have such negative feelings towards this stock. Now, first of all, they made some pretty bad acquisitions. They picked up DirecTV and sold that for a loss, and I think they're actually doing the same here with Warner Media. And while they're making these moves, they're taking on more debt for the company, which makes current shareholders angry and I think keeps a lot of potential shareholders at bay. One of the big frustrations, and it actually could be the final straw for a lot of shareholders, is that AT&T announced with the spinoff there will be a reduction in the dividend by, I think we've read it could be cut by about half. Now, as it currently stands, guys, if we go over to the dividend scorecard page, we can see that AT&T has a forward dividend yield of 8.07%, which is very high. It's the highest we've seen out of the 3 stocks today. They have a payout ratio that's a little bit on the high end, 63.12%, a 5-year growth rate of 1.61%, which is very low, and a dividend growth history now of 0 years. But prior to this 0 years, I just think they didn't grow it like this year, but I think prior to that, they had a dividend growth history of 25 years or so, maybe 22. I think they were a dividend aristocrat. I don't remember off the top of my head, but you guys can see up here that even despite this lack of growth now, they have been paying their dividend for 37 consecutive years. So at least they have that. With that said, is it a good time to buy AT&T right now, especially after just talking about them cutting their dividend? And that's a valid point. Why would you buy AT&T right now at $25 a share and 8% dividend yield when after the spinoff it could go down to $20 a share, maybe even less than $20 a share? Why not just wait till after the spinoff? And that's a great question, guys. I'm not sure what the share price is going to look like after the spinoff. I do think it will be positioned to start appreciating again as time goes on after the spinoff, but I do know right now AT&T is looking pretty affordable. $25 a share is pretty nice for this company. And I also know if you buy it prior to the spinoff, you're going to get shares in that new media company, that new Time Warner Discover media company from owning it before the spinoff. So that is one plus. And if you don't want to keep the shares, you can sell those off and reinvest them back into the core AT&T to increase your dividend income and make up for some of that lost income after the dividend was reduced. Now, as far as my AT&T position goes, guys, I currently have 81.4 shares of this company. Like I said, it's a pretty large position in my portfolio. If we scroll over here, we can see it makes up 7.34% of my overall portfolio allocation. So it's a pretty big chunk. And similar to EPD, guys, with AT&T, I'm able to pick up some pretty good shares with each dividend payment. So every single year, just from dividends, I'm able to purchase an extra 6.64 shares. So with each dividend payment from AT&T, I think I'm getting 1.5 to 1.7 shares. And I know this will be reduced after the spinoff, which kind of sucks. But then again, I have a lot of investing years left in me, so I have a lot of time to recoup that income, guys. So I'm not too worried about it. All right, guys, now moving on, let's get into the weekly portfolio update. So as I mentioned in the intro of this video, my portfolio is currently sitting at an all-time high and has a current market value of $28,281.16. And my total gain so far is $1,534.80 or 5.74%. Now, if we compare this to last week's portfolio update video, you guys can see I'm up just a little bit. I'm up just a couple $100. Last time we did this, the market value was at $28,044.16, and the total gain was just under $1,500. So we're up maybe about $40 or so. And then if we compare the annual dividend income, guys, last week, my annual dividend income was $1,279.19, and it is currently sitting at $1,286.75. So it jumped up about $7 just in the last week or so. And that is due to some pretty good purchases that I made, or at least I think they're pretty good purchases, guys. So one piece of news is I officially increased my weekly contributions in this portfolio from $125 to $150 every single week. And with that, I'm going to divvy it up evenly and purchase 3 different stocks each week. So this week, for example, guys, I put $50 into Intel and picked up almost 1 full share of Intel. I invested $50 into Lockheed Martin and did not pick up very much, but slowly but surely we're getting there. And then I also put $50 into Verizon because it has been so down, and I got almost 1 full share of Verizon. So 3 pretty solid pickups if I do say so myself. And this is something I'm going to continue next week. I'm definitely going to pick up some Intel and some Lockheed Martin, but I may or may not buy Verizon. Instead of investing that last $50 into Verizon, I may pick up some AbbVie. I may pick up some Altria Group. I may even pick up some ORCC. who knows, guys? Who knows what I'm gonna do? We'll just have to see and wait for the update next week. Which reminds me, guys, definitely be sure to tune into next week's video, which is going to be the big monthly portfolio update. So we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into this portfolio than we usually do on a weekly basis. And we'll talk more about some of the best performing stocks and the worst performing stocks in this portfolio in the last month, as well as some bigger future moves I plan to make in the upcoming month to this portfolio. So definitely be sure to tune in for that. These portfolio update videos are always so much fun to do. I really enjoy sharing my moves with you guys and getting your feedback as well. I've said this before, but I feel like I learn a lot from you guys in the comment section. So definitely keep it up with the good feedback. It helps me do my job better. All right, my friends, and that pretty much wraps it up for today's video. I think this one was kind of a longer one. So thank you for sticking around with me till the end if you are still here. And if you are still here, please leave me a comment below. Let me know, what do you think of the 3 high yield dividend stocks we talked about in today's video? Are you guys at all fans of Altria Group, EPD, or AT&T? Probably not AT&T, some of you guys out there. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And also, before you click on to the next video, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up, leave a like on this video. It would mean a lot to me. And every time you guys click that thumbs up button, it helps this video get spread out far and wide to other investors here on YouTube. And I know there's a lot of them out there who could probably use this information. They're probably quite lost without it. And if you enjoyed watching this and would be interested in seeing more dividend stock content from me, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I mentioned this in the intro, but I'm uploading videos twice a week. I upload every Wednesday and every Sunday, and I only talk about dividend stocks. So there's a lot of good stuff coming your way. So please consider subscribing. And that's about all I got for you guys. So once again, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.